When I was a kid growing up, I always had great memories of gathering around with my family and watching football. It mainly consisted of my dad, his younger brothers, which are identical twins, and myself. My dad would either take me to his house or they would come over to our house. We'd gather around the TV, just yelling, screaming, having a good old time cheering for our favorite football teams and rooting against yours. My dad's favorite football team was the Rams. One of my uncles was the Raiders and the other uncle was the Dolphins. And at a young age, I'm not sure on the specifics, but it must have had something to do with my uncle. I chose the Miami Dolphins. They've caused a lot of pain in my life, and I've been very sad some Sundays watching. I've been very happy some Sundays, but no matter what they put me through, I'll always be a Miami Dolphins fan. So I'm going to be going over specifically the 1972 season for the Miami Dolphins. So the 1972 Miami Dolphins are arguably the greatest football team to ever play the game. I'm going to be talking about the team, the head coach, and the 1972 season itself. So the team consisted of two main parts, like every football team, the offense and defense. The defense had a nickname that year. They were named the No Name Defense. They were given this name because they had no superstars, no real popular players on their defense. They were just a bunch of unknown players, hence the No Name Defense. The defense was constructed on the 3-4 system. So if you know football, when they ran the 3-4 system, they'd be running with 3 linemen and 4 linebackers. 3 linemen would consist of the nose guard, the 2 defensive end, and the linebackers would consist of 2 middle linebackers, 2 outside linebackers. The Dolphins called their particular 3-4 defense the 53 defense. The reason they called it the 53 defense was because they named it after a player on their defense, Bob Matheson, and his number happened to be 53. He was a key player and key contributor, so I guess they thought 53 was a good thing to name the defense. A thing to note is the defense itself had no Hall of Fame players, so no one on that team's defense has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. The information for that comes from Pro Football Daily. The offense itself was a pretty run-heavy offense. The reason for this was because they had lost their first-string quarterback, Bob Greasy, for a majority of the season, so they had to lean on the run game. They used mainly 2 running backs, Larry Zonka and Mercury Morris, but they did mix in a third running back as well, Jim Kick. So the first 2 running backs, the duo, Larry Zonka rushed for over 1,000 yards on a little over 200 carries, while Mercury Morris was right behind him with over 1,000 yards rushing as well, but just on 190 carries. And Jim Kick had about 130 carries that season for about 500 yards. So you can see the other 2 mainly carried the ball that year. Mercury Morris did have 12 touchdowns, while Larry Zonka had 6, and Jim Kick had 5. Out of the 3 running backs, only one was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that was Larry Zonka. He was known for his power style of running. He wasn't going to run around you, he was going to run through you. And the information on that comes from the official Dolphins website. Head coach Don Shula coached in the NFL for 33 seasons. He coached a majority of the time from 1970 to 1995. He coached the Miami Dolphins. And within that time in the Miami Dolphins, he won 5 AFC championships and 2 Super Bowls. The Super Bowl wins were back-to-back, and that would include the 1972 season. And the information on that one, that comes from Pro Football Reference. And Don Shula himself is mostly known for his winning record in the NFL. During his career, he collected 347 wins and is known as the winningest coach in NFL history. And for that reason, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And the information on that part of his career comes from the Pro Football Hall of Fame website. Lastly, the season itself, the 1972 season, was shorter than it is nowadays. So in the NFL back in that time, they only played 14 regular season games. The Dolphins went 14-0 in the regular season. In the divisional round, they played the Cleveland Browns, which they beat, and in the AFC Championship, they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, which they had also won that game. And finally, in the biggest game of the year, the Super Bowl, they did play the Washington Redskins, which they managed to beat 14-7. The season is known to be the only undefeated season in NFL history where a team has won every regular season game and went on to win the Super Bowl as well. And the information on that comes from the Finsiders website. So we had discussed the team, the head coach, and we had discussed the 1972 season itself. I will leave you with the quote from Coach Don Shula: "Success is not forever, and failure is not fatal."